This is part one of our series on how to get the German freelance visa, where we speak with Beck, who successfully applied for the visa. So, Beck, congratulations on getting the German freelance visa. So we are going to go through some points, and we'll start with just some preliminary points on scope. So this visa is for non-EEA nationals. It doesn't apply if you're from one of the friendly 7 nations, so Australia, Israel, Japan, Canada, South Korea, New Zealand, and the United States. And in those cases, you can apply for a visa for up to 90 days. But otherwise, you'll be applying through an embassy. Now, we'll start with the application form, and we've got a separate walkthrough where you walk through the application form and talk about which bits need to go in it. Could you talk a bit about the work title?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So regarding the application form, it's one of the first documents that you would need to fill out and or look to fill out when you are preparing for the freelance visa for Germany. And the work title is specifically a very important point, is because that work title that you choose for your application form will then follow, will be moved forward to your vignette in your passport as a temporary visa, as well as moved forward to your next second stage 2 application within Germany, and that title will stay with you up to the point that you make an application for permanent residency by the end of year 5. And the very important point is that you cannot do any other work beyond the work title that you get within your the visa that you receive for the first stage and second stage. So if you assign to yourself a web developer, artist in the form of a dancer or a painter, then you can only work within those frames. And this is mostly related to taxation, as well as what you can do within the visa that you get. So it's a very strict boundaries that you need to follow.
Yeah, and have you come across people who've got that wrong, or heard about people getting that wrong?
Yeah, definitely. I have heard cases that people received their visas with the wrong title, or the title that he assigned to themselves was not aligned with what they were planning to do in Germany. So there is a way of changing that title once you receive the visa for the stage 2. It's simply approaching the immigration office in Germany with an official letter asking them to change or add title to the existing visa, and they will be happy to do that for you. But of course, it's an additional process that you will need to take.
Great. Yeah, and to be avoided. So in your case, just to talk about that, in your case, the work title was web developer.
Exactly, yes. At the moment, it's web developer, yeah.
Yeah, great. And that is broad enough to encompass everything that you want to do.
Definitely. Yeah. Web development can include development of websites and anything related to web. So that encompasses, all the points.
Great. Now you need to assign a point of contact that's linked. So could you talk a bit about that, please?
Yeah, the point of contact is important because the embassy and the immigration office would want to make sure that you have real clients and real work that's waiting for you, and that also will need to be reflected later on in the letter of intent that we'll discuss in this process. So within the application form, there's a field that you will need to show the point of contact or the person with whom you will be working with, and you would need to make sure that you speak to the person, ask their permission, whether you can list their name, address, as well as their contact details, phone number, email address, in the application form. And they need to be aware that in case there's an embassy or immigration office makes contact with the client that you have, they need to know that their contacts have been shared, and that they will be confirming that they intend to work with you in the future upon your arrival in Germany and upon receiving the visa. So that part is also one of the key points within the application form that you need to look out for.
Insurance is the next topic. So we all know how enthusiastic Germany is about insurance. And would you be able to comment on that?
Definitely, insurance. I would not want to give an advice on insurance. What I can do is I can share my experience, how I went through researching it, and what insurance I have come across and the process around it. As far as I know, there are two types of insurances, which is a public and private insurance. For public, in order to get into public insurance, you would need to be employed full time with a company. So that's out of question, getting public insurance. So for freelancers, it's usually private insurance that they can get, and the private insurance is slightly more expensive, and it is easier to get into private insurance because they're more willing to offer services for non-German speakers or non-German citizens, and accommodate the requirements of an applicant. So there are a few options that you can look into in getting private insurance. A few points to look around insurance is make sure that they are able to provide, if you don't speak German, they're able to provide English support in English, so that you can claim your expenses if you have any going forward. And there are a few private insurances that do not qualify for the visa application. So usually the insurances that they qualify, they list that they follow certain government rules and regulations, citing a law that they follow the government's requirements. A specific insurance can follow the government's requirements on fulfilling visa requirements, and that specific insurance can then be used to make an application at the embassy and as a second stage in Germany.
Yeah. And separately in the course, you've done a walkthrough in connection with registering for insurance and how to go about that process.
Exactly. So as a next stage, I'll show my own experience, how I went through finding a specific insurance and how I registered for that insurance. It's a fairly simple process, but I'll definitely, as a second step, I'll show my my experience with that.
So there are some specific points that aren't covered in the rules, which people won't necessarily know about from reading about the rules. And so if we can go over those in terms of, the first one is recommendation letters from clients.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, so as the first point to look out for is what is not being mentioned in the rules, but is encouraged or expected by the embassy as well as the immigration office in Germany. And those points usually are found out by either speaking to people, finding out about the experiences of other applicants. So the very first point that I came across was a recommendation letter. These letters were not mentioned in the rules, but having spoken with multiple successful applicants, I found out that the recommendation letters are encouraged, and the embassy usually looks for them. So I connected with a few of my clients, existing clients, not necessarily from Germany, but around the world, in different countries. I explained the situation, saying that I'm applying for a freelance visa and that I would need their recommendation, outlining what work I have been doing for them and what help I've been giving, and they agreed. So in total, I've got 3 recommendation letters from 3 different clients in 2 different countries, non-German clients, and they agreed. We agreed the content of the letter in English, because of my working language is English, and upon agreeing the content of the recommendation letter, I have translated the letter into German with the help of a friend. It's very key to make a professional translation, because Google usually does not translate professionally. So once I translated the English letters, recommendation letters, into German, then I got those letters signed, either electronic signature or physical signature, by signing and scanning and send it to you. And those letters then had been filed into my application file and sent to embassy.
Now, how about just before we move on to other points, the recommendation letters? We have put a sample recommendation letter in the course, so a template. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So all the documents that we will be referring to will have samples and recommendation. I will be sharing the sample recommendation letter below in this course.
Yeah. In part 2 of this series on the German freelance visa, we will continue and look at the rental contract you need, the bank statement, the language requirements, the recommendation letters and letters of intent.